Mr. Niso.
Mr. Speaker, since the start of the pandemic, the Early Childhood Development Agency, ECDA, has been regularly reviewing the COVID-19 measures for preschools, in line with changes to our national posture and in consultation with the Ministry of Health, MOH. These regular reviews aim to safeguard the health and safety of preschool children and staff while enabling preschools to manage the operations. The measures also consider the fact that the majority of preschool children are unvaccinated. To keep our children and staff safe and to enable preschools to keep up with changes to the health protocols, ECDA regularly updates the sector via email circulars and infographics. Preschools can also reach out directly to the ECDA licensing officer if they need help or guidance. ECDA also provided preschools with funding support in 2020 and 2021 to hire safe management assistants to help implement safe management measures, SMMs. In turn, this gave operators time to review their operational processes and manpower planning to sustain evolving SMMs. To help preschools manage COVID-19 cases ahead of the Omicron wave, ECDA and MOH have streamlined the contact tracing processes and empowered schools, or rather preschools, with greater autonomy to manage the COVID-19 cases. For example, we have streamlined the process to allow preschools to submit details of close contacts directly to MOH so that health risk notices can be issued faster, thereby reducing the period of uncertainty for parents and staff. The surge in cases due to Omicron has affected many segments of society, and the preschool sector is no exception. We recognize that a high number of COVID-19 cases amongst staff can disrupt preschool's operations. Now, in earlier phases of the pandemic, cross-deployment of staff across preschools and across classes within the same preschool was restricted to minimize the risk of transmission. As all preschool staff are now fully vaccinated and are placed on weekly rostered routine testing, RRT, ECDA has provided operators with more flexibility in manpower deployment within each preschool, and where necessary, each preschool may deploy staff across classes or tap on relief staff. In areas where manpower is indeed very tight, such as mother tongue language teachers, such staff may be deployed across preschools subject to prevailing SMMs. In situations where preschools are impacted by substantial staff absenteeism, ECDA works closely with the operators to initiate their business continuity plans, such as adjusting program plans and allowing flexibility in staffing ratios. Keeping our preschools safe and healthy is a collective effort. We advise parents to monitor the children's health and consult a primary care doctor if the child is unwell. Children who are unwell should stay at home to rest and return to preschool only when they have fully recovered. We also encourage parents whose children are 5 years old and older and medically eligible to register them for the COVID-19 vaccination to give them better protection.
Mr. Niso.
Thank you for the reply. I have two clarifications which I wish to seek, or rather to excuse. One is in relation to whether ECDA will provide more support in relation to provisions of more ART kits to all of these preschools so that it actually eases the operating expenses and encourage more people to get tested on a regular basis. Another one is my concern in relation to a disruption of manpower, whether that will compromise the preschool's adherence to the environmental sanitation regime and exposing the children to the possibility of the gastroenteritis cases.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member, Ms. Haniso, for her additional questions. On the first question on additional support in terms of ART kits, I think that's something we can take back and explore because last year, I think sometime around September, we have done the same. We have issued some kits to the preschool children so that to alleviate the stress on the families of having to test regularly for the children. On the second question, on the second issue of disruption of manpower, as I've mentioned in my main reply as well, I think it's a balance we want to strike between maintaining the preschool's operations vis-a-vis getting the children tested. And then we understand that manpower can be a stretch, especially at this time when we have quite a number of preschool staff, preschool teachers who might be, down with COVID, who might be on medical leave. So we want to be able to empower the preschools, give them some flexibility. So as I've mentioned in my earlier reply, that we do allow them some degree of flexibility as compared to before. Because in the earlier phases of fighting the pandemic, I think our SMMs and our restrictions have been quite tight in that sense. So now we have allowed for deployment across classes. We have also allowed for, in some cases, for example, where manpower is very scarce, as I mentioned, mother tongue language teachers, for them to be deployed across preschools subject to SMMs. So I think we are striking a right balance, and we want that. We are mindful of the constraints that preschools face. We are mindful of the stress that preschools have to handle and deal with as well. But as much as possible at this phase of the pandemic, we want our preschools to be remaining open as much as possible so that social impact arising from preschool closures are kept to the minimum. At the same time, as we move to the endemic phase, we hope that we can also try to alleviate some of the stress that both the preschools as well as families are facing. That's why we'll take the members' first suggestion on board as well.